What's up everyone, the Dead Guy here, and welcome back to another video. Now, this video is a unique one due to the circumstances that brought forth this video. And what I'm talking about is how a small development team of 2 people reached out to me, and I'll throw the email up on the video. But they reached out to me and they asked me to get involved and that they'd be thrilled if I covered their early access survival game called Wild Planet, whether through a video playthrough, a review, which is what this is going to be, or any other format, and that my support would mean the world to them. So they sent me over 2 Steam keys, one for me and one for my friend at Snaggletooth Games, to review this game and especially the multiplayer experience, which is what I'm going to touch on the most here, and give my thoughts and opinions on the game itself. So with all that being said, I'm going to get into some pros of the game that I like and the cons that I don't like. So let's get into the video. As stated in the intro of this video, I was reached out to by a small development team to critique their early access survival game that promises an immersive open world survival experience that invites you to embark on a journey of exploration and discovery like no other. And they say that you can traverse biomes teeming with life and secrets waiting to be uncovered. All the while you immerse yourself in the tranquil ambience of the game where the beauty of the natural world unfolds before you. Well guys, let me tell you that none of that was really present in this game whatsoever, despite what the Steam page might say. Now, before we get into the pros and the cons of the game itself, I just wanted to say that I actually really do appreciate the developers for having the goal to reach out to me and say, hey, we're working on a game. I want you to review it and give your honest opinion about it. I truly think that they can learn and grow from the things that I'm going to tell them about the game itself. And I really do understand that this game is in an early access state, but let's be honest, guys, early access, it means a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of different people. And I want this game to do well, so that is why I'm coming at this with a real raw perspective and a perspective that I hope the developers are taking in a positive light. I want them to hear my feedback and adjust the game accordingly to make the game actually better, because I do think it has a lot of promise. And yeah, let's get into the pros of the game. But yeah, like I was saying, guys, there's a whole host of good stuff about this game. So hopefully we don't focus on the negatives too much, because I do want to get into the good stuff first. And one of the biggest things this game has going for it is atmosphere. Now, what do I mean by atmosphere? Well, they say it's a chill survival game, and they're right. It is a very chill survival game. It's fun to sit there and just play the game with your friends on a late night. Fun to do, right? The vibes are there to have a nice, relaxing experience if that's what you're into. And the music especially really adds to that atmosphere. And I can actually relate the music towards Risk of Rain, right? Which is, mind you, one of my favorite soundtracks in gaming ever. Right next to the Doom soundtrack, but 2 different vibes. But the music is actually really good, guys. And the fact that I'm saying it's on par with Risk of Rain is a huge compliment because of how good that music is. And I really do think it highlights the atmosphere of this game and the chill vibes of the game. Another point to add to the atmosphere point is the lighting. The lighting is actually really good in this game. I think the game is running off Unity, so I didn't think Unity had really good lighting, but they really utilized the Unity engine to host good lighting. Especially there was this part in a cave, which I'll put up on screen now, There's a part in a cave where it's the first cave you go into, or dungeon is what they call it in this game. And the light that was shining from the outside into the cave looked really good. And there's even parts in the desert where the lighting was just really nice. And the first area, the first biome you're in, the lighting was really good. And it set the tone for the atmosphere and the chill vibes that I really did appreciate. And I hope that they expand upon that further. So my second pro on this game is actually the charming quirkiness of the game. It has a really unique style to the game that once again is like kind of on par with like Risk of Rain, and I think they're doing something right with the direction that they're going with in the overall style of the game itself, and I can't wait to see what they do further with it in future updates. All right, so now on to point number 3 of the pros. The game is actually fun. I actually had a lot of fun exploring with my friend, Snaggletooth Games, and it was just fun to explore new areas, go to new biomes. I couldn't wait to see more. And while we're in those new areas, attacking enemies was actually fun. I had a good time beating down the local enemy in that new biome, or the biome I currently was in, as well as finding the new crafting gear to progress through the various crafting benches. Like, it felt so good to find a new item to craft that new bench to get more new items. I think they did a really, really good job with that, and they just need to keep progressing, keep that fun progression going, because it really was something that was fun and it didn't feel too grindy. The items felt plentiful at times and was actually a fun experience. And I'm going to do a little note here. The building aspect of it was actually pretty expansive. I felt like there was actually a lot to do there, and I feel like a lot of people can get lost in the building in this game and actually have fun if you're that building survival kind of person. Okay, so unfortunately, I wish I had more pros to talk about, but unfortunately, I have a lot more cons to talk about, and this is kind of where the video turns negative, but I hope the developers take this into more of a positive light, because like I said earlier in the intro, the game has a lot of potential. So let's get into the cons. All right, so the biggest con of this game, number 1, is there is no content. There is absolutely no story here, even though it was promised. We couldn't find a story. There was only one section in a cave, I believe, where we found some sort of note that explained a company landing on the planet to mine the resources of the planet, but that was it. There was no mention of a story or anything later on. So yeah, to add on to the no content, there is no end game, because there is no content to really do. There's only 3 biomes and 2 caves, from what I could tell. If there wasn't, maybe there was a different area that is in the game, because the map looked a lot bigger when you hit the M key, and I'll put it up on the video here. When you hit the M key, the map comes up, and there's a lot of grayed out areas still, but I could not for the life of me find any other areas or any way to progress, even though it felt like the game was supposed to progress. Maybe they're adding stuff to the game, which I hope so, because it's early access, but I just couldn't find a way to progress my game further. And to keep up with the no content thing, there is no world events, even though on the Steam page it's promised. There were times where it would say meteors falling, but for me only. And I'll put that up on screen. It kept saying meteors falling nearby, but I didn't know what that meant. I couldn't see any meteors falling. My friend couldn't see any meteors falling. And I never saw it. It popped up, but I never saw it. So if that's a world event, it's a pretty lackluster world event. And there needs to be more, because on the Steam page, there is like giant enemies attacking like your location and stuff. And I just did not see that whatsoever in this game. Also, as we're exploring the no content thing, there was only one boss fight and like a handful of enemies. And only a handful of the enemies were actually fun to fight, like the giant mech. We had a really fun time fighting that thing. And the one boss fight that there was actually really fun to fight. And it was a different experience, because we were so used to fighting the same enemies who did the same exact thing. But yeah, the variety of enemies just wasn't there. And there was only one boss fight. Even though on the Steam page, it says at least in the trailer, there's 2 different bosses, and I just did not see that second boss whatsoever. So to keep up with the no content point as well, at most, at the end of this game, I got about 10 hours of gameplay. Now, mind you, the game is $20 on Steam. So I think for the price, you don't get that dollar per hour metric that most people strive for in a video game, as I only got 10 to 11 hours of gameplay with at least an hour or two of just sitting there yapping with my friend. All right, so the negative point number 2 is just an overall bad multiplayer experience. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the multiplayer experience downright just kind of sucks. It's nice when it works, but most of the time it just doesn't work well. There was countless times of me having to restart my hosted server or relogging in to fix the countless bugs and glitches that I will talk about later on in point number 4. But a lot of the things was at least a lot of our issue was me as the admin. If I got too far away from my friend or the other player, they would literally fall through the map. Or let's say I went to a new biome and they're just slightly behind me. My friend said that the map itself would spawn in after him. So he fell through the map as the map was spawning in. So he just countless times, he just fell through the map, and it really took us out of the fun aspects of the game because we were constantly trying to find out ways for him to get unstuck. And on that topic, there is an unstuck yourself button that does not work. What is the point of the button if when you press it, it doesn't do what it says it's supposed to do? He would hit it multiple times, as you'll see. We'll put a clip in. He would hit it, not get unstuck. He would just still be stuck. He'd have to relog, and it got so bad actually that he had to create a whole new character. And what's actually nice about this game, which I forgot to mention in the pros, was that they have like an RPG metric to where you can level up your character, and then you could advance these 3 different perks, which was like strength, stamina, and your health bar. You know, it's very basic, so it's nothing to really shout out, but I'm glad that they did that because that was a really nice touch. However, my friend, who had to create a whole new character from falling under the map, lost all of his progress in his previous character, lost all of his items, lost all of his RPG mechanic progress, his levels. So yeah, it was really painstaking and annoying to try to fix this annoying bug and glitch of falling through the map. And I really hope the developers figure out a workaround for that because it takes you out of your experience and it needs to be fixed. All right, so point number 3 on the negative list is combat. Now, the combat felt very clunky, very early access, but I will say the guns felt very powerful and they were fun to use. And it was fun to like smack the enemies around with like a nice melee weapon at times. But the combat overall felt very awkward and it was hard to move the camera at times. Like your right click is supposed to move your camera in any direction that you want. But for me, I couldn't find a setting to lower that camera sensitivity. So my camera would just be spinning like crazy or a lot faster than what I wanted it to. So it was very clunky. And it just took me out of like the combat experience in general. Also, while we're on the topic of combat, I really feel like this game needs to add a dodge roll or some sort of dodge in general. And I feel like the game could benefit a lot from it because it felt weird not being able to dodge certain attacks. Like I just had to sit there and click on the enemy and hit it while it shot at me. It was very boring, and being able to dodge attacks just adds a whole nother level to combat, especially in a game like this where most survival games do that. So I'd really like to see them implement something like that. Yeah, on the topic of clunky combat, exploring certain areas was very clunky as well due to the third person mode pass through where like the building turns invisible as your camera moves through it. Like sometimes the entire building would just disappear and I'll throw it up on screen like what I mean. And I just want to make a special shout out for the worst stairs in all of gaming history. These stairs are so bad. You had to hit space to jump up every single one. Where in normal video games, like you could just seamlessly run up the stairs. Like I don't understand how stairs are so hard to do, but this game found out a way to make the worst stairs in history. Please fix the stairs. All right, so on point number 4, this is where we get into the glitches. Now, there are a whole host of glitches, UI issues. I'm not going to touch on every single one or else we'd be here all day. I'm going to touch on a few that were really annoying for me and my friend. As we were playing the game, we had a really bad issue with the inventory system. Like for some reason it worked fine for me, but when my friend Snaggle would be in an inventory that like I was in, a different one, let's just say, he would see what I was looking at and I would grab stuff that he was trying to grab. And I can't show you on screen because I don't have his footage, but like he's making a video, so maybe you can see it in that. And it was so annoying for him specifically. And I just don't know what it is, but the multiplayer just does not work properly. And once again, it's just one of those things that like pushes you out of that whole immersion. And it's just an annoying thing you have to deal with. So to delve further into the admin issues that we were experiencing, like with the inventory, there was also an issue to where my friend Snaggle couldn't pick up any of the building pieces / workbenches that we would put down. It was only me. I was the only one that was able to do that. Even though he could build, he would build something, and then let's say he didn't want it there, I would have to pick it up. It is the most annoying thing in the world, and I do not understand why it's like that. Maybe there's a setting I was missing, but it was just so bad. And I just want to make a special shout out to that horrible pickup system, because there was times where I'd hit the pickup button and accidentally pick up a piece of the floor or something like that. And I'll show you in the video. It was just so frustrating. I'd have to like turn my camera a certain way so that I could hit the pickup button so that it wouldn't pick something up. It was just so annoying. Like to turn off pickup, you had to hit pickup again. And it was just the most frustrating thing in the world. I'd like to see something to where you like, maybe you hold, like right click the mouse on a certain piece of building and pick up instead of having to do that, because it was just so frustrating and annoying. The whole building and picking up system needs to be relooked at. And as we're still on the topic of glitches, and how I mentioned how we had to constantly keep re-logging into the server to fix certain issues. Well, after every time we logged back in, my combat settings or any settings that I did save would just be reset. It happened every single time, and it would suck because I would forget and I'd try to fight something, but then my combat button just wouldn't work. It was just so annoying and frustrating to deal with, and it just added on to an extra layer of BS that you have to deal with while relogging into a server. And another annoying glitch to add on to the many of them, the countless times where I would hit the hotbar, like, number 9 or number 2 to use an item, and it just wouldn't register. Yeah, I don't know what that was, but I ran into it countless times. It was frustrating. I'm trying to take a weapon out to fight an enemy, and I had to hit it multiple times while running away, jumping, and it was annoying. It just added another layer of stuff to do on top of the other glitches, and it just brings you out of the immersion of the game. All right, so now let's get into point number 5 of the negatives, and that is going to be the character models / audio. The character models for a lot of the stuff, like they weren't bad by any means, but they could definitely like use some work, as like when you pulled a gun out, your hand wouldn't like be on the gun. It'd be to like the right or the left of the gun. It was really awkward looking, and it just kind of, once again, pulled you out of that immersion, right? Yeah, and there was like no animations for like reloading. It was just, really basic animation. And one of the most egregious animations was one of the rhino enemies. You'd be fighting like the rhino enemy, and in the distance, you would see it's just kind of moving left to right. And I'll throw a clip up. It was just moving left to right, like floating left to right. But even though it was attacking you, it would have an attack animation or a running animation. But for some reason, as it's walking back and forth, left to right, it just didn't have an animation. maybe that's an optimization thing. I don't know, but it felt really weird because other enemies had it, but this thing didn't. So it was a little weird. I get it. It's early access. I can let that go, but I'm just trying to hit on the major points right now. A really great example of how bad the audio is, and I'll show a clip of it, is when we're fighting these little like squid alien things. You would hit it and kill it, and it would make the creepiest noise. Like, it was just such a bad noise. It was like somebody just recorded something in their basement and put it in there for like a placeholder. It was really goofy. It was kind of funny, and I guess that kind of adds to like that unique style and charm. But like, the noises of the enemies when you kill them, like some of them just need to be worked on. Like the Garos had a really goofy sound. The forest creature, which doesn't even have a name, it's just forest creature. It would make just some goofy noises, and I'll show some funny moments of that stuff happening. But yeah, they just kind of like pulled you out of the immersion of the game, and it made it feel very cheap. And another egregious audio issue is when you were entering and exiting the dungeons, me and Snaggle both would just have like these random like loud music, or like I had like a sawing noise at one point. Like, I felt like somebody was sawing wood. Like, it was just really loud for like a split second, and then it was just gone. I don't know what that is, but it was like horrible, and it like pierced your eardrums. It was so loud, and like I'll show you on screen. It was just awful. All right, so now we're on to point number 6. Horrible map design / poor optimization. I mean, like, the maps weren't like bad. I don't mean like they were horrible, but like the seams of the map is what I have an issue with. So you go exploring to like the edges of the area because it was actually fun to explore the biomes and stuff. But once you get to the edge, or like where the two biomes meet, you could literally see the seams of the map. And once again, I'll put a clip of that up on the screen here. You could see the seams of the map as you're like running across, or like you find the border of the map, and it's like, it just once again throws you out of that immersion. Like, you guys, developers, you need to fix that. Like, that is, to me, basic development, and it needs to be looked at because it just makes your game look cheap, and it makes it, once again, like, as this whole, all these things I'm talking about, makes it look like it's not worth that price point at which you're selling. And, hopefully it's an easy fix for you guys. But yeah, we could constantly see the outside of the map, and it was just, once again, pulled you out of that immersion and made your game look cheap. And yeah, on the topic of bad, poor optimization, it ran pretty bad for both of us. Like, I had a higher FPS than my buddy Snaggletooth, but I had a 4070, and I honestly, like, the graphics are nothing too impressive. It's like PS2 graphics, right? So I should be pulling like, I don't know, 200 frames, maybe 150 plus, but I was only getting around like 100 or so, maybe 120. I just feel like I should be getting more frames, and my friend especially was getting like 40 to 70, and there wasn't a lot going on screen. It was just us exploring the map. And not to mention, we had horrible, especially for me, stutters. I had horrible stutters, but I think that was just the map loading. But either way, I feel like there's some sort of optimization there that needs to be looked at to make the game look better. And I will say, I really enjoyed the first area because it ran really smooth, and there were a lot of enemies on screen compared to the other areas that didn't run very smooth and had a lot less enemies on screen. All right, and on to point number 7, which I think is actually one of the bigger points because all the other stuff is fixable, right? And you can, it's an early access game, so you can fix all that stuff. But my biggest qualm with all of this is the fact that I feel like there's a big deceptive advertisement to this game. Like, if you're looking at the Steam page and you're reading about the game, let's say you're interested into it, the video shows at least one other whole biome, multiple vehicles, possible enemy taming function like the rhinos you can ride, and even a whole boss fight that is just not in the game itself. Which, mind you, the stuff that you do get in the game, that's like double the content there, and it's just not advertised on Steam. And I feel like that is really deceptive to the people who are actually interested into your game, and you should either remove it, or since the content is clearly there because you're playing it on the trailer, put it in the game. Even though if it is bad or whatever, it doesn't work properly, a lot of this stuff doesn't work properly, put it in the game. I would like to play it, even if it didn't play bad, because at least there would be lots of content that could get fixed over time. But unfortunately, there's no content or very little content, and you're showcasing things that you will never find in the game. And I just want to notate, especially on the Steam page, there's a section, and I'll put it up on screen, called Awards. I don't know how this game got 5 different awards, but yeah, it's so far from an award-winning game. Like, you need years of development to get a reward-winning game. So I feel like this is also part of that deceptive like advertisement that they're trying to showcase. And I'm just trying to keep it real with everybody that watches my videos, because I don't care who sends me a game. If it's bad, it's bad. And this especially, right, is deceptive. And you're showcasing that this is an award-winning game, yet I have a friend who is constantly falling through the map and dying because of that. What award-winning game has that type of issue? I don't know. And mind you, I played the multiplayer version of this. I didn't play the single player. Maybe the single player is different, but I was gifted the multiplayer experience, and the experience that I got was not award-winning whatsoever. All right, and on to my final and biggest complaint of this game is the price point. I don't know how in the world you are asking $20 for this game. The experience that I had, which, mind you, total of 11 hours with at least 2 hours of sitting around talking and doing nothing, I got about, let's say, 10 hours, 9 hours of good gameplay. That's not even $1 per hour of the metric that I was talking about earlier. Most people, when they buy games off Steam, they want to get at least 1 hour of gameplay for every dollar that they spend. I had about 9 to 10 hours, and you're charging $20 for this game that is apparently award-winning, yet you literally fall through the map. There's zero content to do besides 2 caves and 1 boss fight. And yeah, some gear to grind for, but what's the point? There's no end game. There's nothing to do towards the end, right? So it's like you're waiting for stuff to get added. And yeah, it just doesn't, like, all the stuff that is put up on the Steam page, like exploration and adventure. It's like, yes, you have that. You have crafting. You have these dungeons. You have the relaxing vibe you're going for. But you don't have a fully fleshed out game. And you're asking $20, where most people are struggling nowadays because of the economy. And I can buy a fully fledged out game for $20 that's been out for years with a bunch of content. I cannot recommend this game at $20. And me and my friend were talking about how we can hardly recommend this game at like $5. Even then, it feels like a steal. 99 cents. Free demo. Like, this is a demo game at most. This is not worth paid content. I've had DLC bigger than this game. It just feels, once again, deceptive, like you're trying to scam people. And I don't get that vibe from the developers, but it really pushes that vibe, and it makes you and your future games look bad. And I just want to touch here on the Steam page again. I don't know how some of these reviews are mostly positive, because I would say I had a mostly negative experience, and I don't know who they're paying or what family members are posting these Steam reviews, because there's only 20 of them. And I would say if I left a Steam review, it'd be mostly negative, because there's a lot of stuff to fix here. And especially, I just want to like nail that point in. At $20, you cannot expect people to pay $20 for this game with zero content. There is nothing to really do. I got about 9 hours of good gameplay, maybe. Actually, I would say about 5 hours of good gameplay. Definitely not 20 hours worth and $20 worth. Overall, guys, I'm going to give you my final thoughts on Wild Planet, chill survival, early access survival, whatever you want to call it. Overall, I'm very disappointed. And to be honest, this game needs a lot of development time and a lot of love. I do think the developers aren't shady, but it's hard to really gauge that from one email. And it does seem like they're responsive in the comments, of the reviews of their Steam page about how they want to make the game better. But like, yeah, It looks deceptive to me when you have all of these things on your Steam page that aren't in the game, these awards that like they may be true, but it's hard for me to believe after playing it. And just the price point at which you are selling it, like overall, that is a nail in the coffin for me. And guys, I just cannot recommend this. Yes, it's fun at times. There are some things to do, but guys, you are just let it cook. Let this game cook at the current state. It needs more content. Even if the content is glitchy and bad, put more content in because more content is always better than nothing. More glitchy, bad content is better than nothing. And I hope the developers understand that. And I do want to give a shout out to the developers for actually giving me a Steam key. Like, that was really cool. Thank you guys for letting me test your game out. I hope you guys take all of these points I've been given into a positive light and turn that into a good game. Because at the end of the day, that's what I want. I want good survival games out there. And yeah, as always, guys, I really do appreciate you guys sticking through to the end of the video. And if you did, make sure to like it. Comment down below if you've played this game or if you would play this game. I don't recommend it. But yeah, let me know. And as always, gamers, I will see you guys in the next video real soon. Peace.